Good afternoon to Luminosity Wellness Radio. I am Christine Essex with my guest here today, Dr. Russell Loveland.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
Yes, we are. I know. We're in the afternoon and we're going to have some fun today because we get to talk to each other and also explore the workshop that we have coming up on the 4th and the 5th at Luminosity Wellness Center.
That's great, yes.
Did I tell you? I don't even think I told you I picked the times, did I?
No, you didn't. You didn't tell me. Okay.
I love it. So Friday, I thought we'd do 6 to 10 at night.
That sounds good.
And then we'll do Saturday from 10 to 6.
10 to 6, that works.
Are those good angel numbers or
That's
anything?
great. Well, they're going to happen. They'll become angel numbers if they aren't now.
I know, right? They are now. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I really am excited for the listeners to kind of get to know you and the way that I have, because we were so blessed. And it was actually a day when John Stiles from VANR was at the center taking the photo shoot. Remember?
Oh, that's
that
right.
day?
That's right.
Yeah, so he was there taking our photos when you came into the building.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I said I met you at the front, and then John was taking photos. I was like, Jeff, don't let that Dr. Russell leave. I need to know some more about him.
Sure. That's how it began.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Right. And you stayed, and you were so generous, and you came back and taught us at the center more things that have absolutely, in my own personal practice, have helped me propel my business.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I begin each of these, whether I'm teaching or so forth, once I learned this, I do what I call a health advertisement. And so I'm going to break for just a moment and do this.
Great.
We do this at Luminosity, and when I teach this, it's just, we have something it's called breast cancer. And this part of the video I would choose to really go viral. Mm-hmm. First, some anatomy. Male and female breasts, the lymph glands of the body are contained around very close to the armpit. These are the major lymph glands. You do have lymph glands down the arm, but the major lymph glands in the breast tissue area is around the armpit. And first of all, the lymph glands are designed to pick up the waste from metabolism, foreign objects, meaning free radicals, particles of aluminum, toxic material. And they will accumulate in those glands and to the point where they become cancerous. A simple program to do every day when you're in the shower is to do this motion. The lymph glands are in this area of the body, so simply take your hand and sweep from the side of your arm up, over, and down to the center. Up, over, and down. Also, if you'd like, you can add sweeping down the arm 2 or 3 times to clean those lymph glands. Then simply come up, over, and down the center. I do that about 10 times each morning when I shower. The other thing that happens is when I do that, after a period of few weeks, I started feeling the sinuses drain, which was really cool, and help these. Now, the other thing you need to do is eliminate any type of deodorant that has aluminum base in it. Mm-hmm. Because if you're using something with aluminum or toxic base, that's being absorbed into these lymph glands. A doctor that I learned this from, in her practice, she taught her clients 40 years in practice. She never had one of her females ever go in for breast cancer. This is the greatest prevention of breast cancer that each man and woman can do, and I would encourage anyone who sees this, begin doing it and teach every female in your life how to prevent breast cancer. So this part, I would choose to go viral, the other also, but this is most important. So thank you for the advertisement, and Christine, we'll begin.
Thank you. And you want to know something? I learned something new, because even though you taught this to all of us at Luminosity, for whatever reason, I didn't see this part,
Uh-huh.
of taking it from my arm down.
Yes.
So now I have another jewel to deliver because we were commissioned by you to continue this work.
That's
And-
right. And I thank you.
No, and I love it because just yesterday I was at community college at a health fair. I took the
The handout.
flyers that you gave us, right? And I passed them out and I said, "This is our gift to you today. And
Wonderful.
please tell everyone you know." And the only thing I forgot was my little loofah.
Sure. Yeah, the loofah. Yeah, the loofah.
The loofah was missing.
The loofah. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of pressure, like the pressure of feeling like a dime on your skin or a nickel or quarter. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to do it. But a loofah is wonderful to be able to do that. Come down your arm. Go on the net. You can just Google lymph glands in the upper body. You'll see what they look like. You'll see where they're located. And there's a lot of them in this area. Down the arm, there's some up through the neck. But just do that, share that, and I would love to see us totally prevent and eradicate breast cancer from off the earth. We can do that, each of us today, and if you'll share it with everyone that you come in contact with. I mean, you're standing in a grocery line, turn to the lady behind you, go like, how would you like to know how to eliminate breast cancer and teach someone? You could do it.
Yes. And you get a new friend that way.
That's right.
Right?
Anyway.
Really kind of like, and so what do you do for a living? Then we have a whole conversation going on.
That's right. No, of course, teach your children, your daughters, and your grandmothers, and and have them teach their friends. This we can change the world on this one.
I agree, and I know I'm still in the process of researching the different deodorants that are available that do not have aluminum in them.
Correct.
So I noticed that on our paper you put Arm & Hammer, I think.
Yeah, Arm & Hammer. You have to really go through the shelving and look, and you can find a few that do not have aluminum.
Okay.
With it. So Arm & Hammer makes one. There's another one company that makes some. And even you have to watch some of the major old-time natural health care ones that were bought off by syndicated companies, and so you have to watch those. You could go like to Tom's toothpaste was always great because it didn't have fluoride. Well, it's been bought by a larger company, and so you have to really look and find the Tom's that still has no fluoride.
Okay.
So it's just great common sense, but look at that. It's a beginning, and there are some research. It's the great thing about the net is ones that don't, looks more natural, organic. So.
Or ask your friends who sell products, because
That's
I
right.
asked my friend who was selling doTERRA. I said, "Do you have aluminum in your deodorant?" She said, "Nope." And I said, "Okay, you go on the list."
That's right. That's one of the list.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was great. I was grateful because now we can offer more solutions to
Sure,
people.
that's great.
Help with the cut down the research. So on the 4th and the 5th, and you're coming back into the center and teaching us. Do you? I kind of left it up to you. Divinely guided, using your intuitive self, because that even at the Valentine's event that we just had
Yes,
at Luminosity, well, I put you down as the intuitive reader. And
know.
you were busy.
Oh, I was. I didn't get a break. I felt like I put in 5 days of heavy work.
Yeah.
Because I did, for 5 hours of heavy work.
Right. So, and then even out here, I would like to get a little bit more into that intuitive side and what you were talking about earlier with me. I think it's important.
Christine, I should think of the name, Carolyn Mace, in her research in the beginning, I was fortunate to hear her in her early days talking about her research, and I think it's probably in her books. She said every major medical institution, Scripps, Mayo Clinic, all began with a very intuitive physician. And out of that grew these massive clinics. And there's a lot of really, really good technicians in the medical world. Mm-hmm. My background is 30 years of being a chiropractic physician, kind of the art of a different approach to things. There's a lot of colleagues out there that specialize in certain areas. Mm-hmm. One of the gifts that I focused on was my intuition. Now, females have by far more intuitive than males. This is why moms can, The football game can be going in the front room. Mom can be fixing some snacks, answering the phone call, and walk into the front room just in the time to see the winning touchdown or the winning goal, and then walk back in where the husband and boys are sitting there glued to the television and, consuming.
That's so funny. So
women literally have the ability to have almost 5 times the amount of intuition that a male does, unless a male begins to work at it.
Okay.
It's a common known fact. Little baby girls are reaching up to communicate.
Right.
Little baby boys are looking at blocks. They're going inside trying to put together things. They're very introverted. And it's known that the female baby the brain starts developing from the front to the back, which is communication. Huh. The male baby develops from the back to the front, which is objects, things, textures going inside. It's a known fact. So on our best days as a male, and we have this thing called marriage that we think we're going to meet.
Right.
And often we go past. Anyway.
Yeah.
So the gift of intuition is this. I was fortunate that I had some people when I was at Eastern Washington University and some other colleges. I had some doctors some PhDs that I was able to take some of these courses to evolve in intuition. And then I was able to talk to some of these long-term chiropractors who talked. I says, tell me the moments of magic in your practice. What were the moments that and they talked about standing. I said, like his one told about his wife that he'd make this adjustment and her hip would go in. Well, one day he stood 2 feet away from the table, 2 feet from her, made the adjustment, and the hip popped.
Whoa.
And so I had these knowings that there's much, much greater information available than just the hard substance that we call matter around us. And so the gift of that, so I started focusing on that. And I took courses of other doctors. I'd sit by the old chiropractors and they'd go, I says, tell me the magic, show me the things, and they would tell me these stories. Wow. What happened. And so and then I took courses of other doctors that worked out of these areas. And so that intuition began to expand. The gift of that is that we can find things or recognize situations before they manifest physically, or we can find the pathway of how you created it in your life. The other thing I found was when patients come in, a person has a chronic issue. It's great for the pocketbook because they come in every couple of weeks and da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's like the moral ethical part goes, what am I missing?
Right.
What am I missing as a physician? How come this person keeps coming in? What am I missing? And one of the things we'll be talking about Luminosity on the 4th and 5th is something called ownership. Yeah. I found that I could work on someone, but unless they changed their thinking and their feelings, the issues kept returning in their lives. And that isn't just how they return with their mental state and their emotional state, but they were creating in their environment. People would be employed with in one company and have issues and then re-employ themselves in another company and the same issues would show up.
Or like in a relationship,
yes,
right?
A relationship.
Yeah.
I'd have these 26-year-old women come in to me and say, Dr. Loveland, how come I'm still dating zeros, losers? And what is it she's doing to attract this?
Correct.
And I said, well, if you're playing country western on the radio, you guys are going to show up that have cowboy boots. Now, if you like cowboy boots, it's great. But if you don't like cowboys, you got to change the radio station.
Oh, I love that.
If you want to have jazz, then change it to a jazz station. So you start transmitting out jazz. People who like jazz are going to show up in your life.
Wow.
But if you're country western, you love country western, great. You're going to have cowboys show up and cowgirls show up, and that's great too. Or if you're going to go to classical, you're going to get, black tie and, white shirts.
Yeah. No, I love the simplicity of the example because they start to understand it. Correct?
And so the issue becomes is what are you doing in your thinking to create this? And you're thinking and feeling. What's your self-talk? And this is one of the things we talk about. We talk about it at, I think, every one of the seminars, even the advanced ones, still go over these basics, because if you aren't changing your life and getting what you want, you've got to look in the mirror, because like someone just says, who is the one person who's been with you through every event in your life?
Right.
Who's the one person who's been at every event? The successes and the failures, the victories or the defeats. Who's been there? And that's what you're attracting. It also goes into, one has to consider the way we have a disease.
Okay.
When there's a process that occurs, and that process, with an intuitive person, you can pick up where that process is. The process begins with, one, our contracts that we came into this earth to have. Certain people have contracts. One of the things that is a contract that's very desirable currently, which is going to seem like an oxymoron in just a moment, in Dolores Cannon's work, she did thousands of past life regressions and talking to beings in the other dimensions. These beings wanting to come to Earth at our time, at our moment on the Earth right now, one of the most desirable situations for them to come in was a handicapped body.
Wow.
Because a handicapped body has so many more experiences than a person who is successful in one aspect of their field. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, in that aspect, that's a very desirable body, because, okay, they're in a wheelchair. How does the society treat them? How does their caregiver treat them? How do they respond to their environment? Huge amount of knowledge can occur in that type of body. So when we understand that we have how we create something, first is we have choice. We have certain things on our contract that we came to fulfill on the earth. And then we have those things that come out of left field that we didn't plan on.
Correct.
Okay. So we have those two kind of governing ideas. For example, in the writings of Anna, the grandmother of Christ, when the energy of Christ would, what we know that energy be, when a person asked to be healed, one of the things in his intuition that she writes of, he'd first evaluate the person and see if this was in their life mission.
Oh, okay.
This was also related to me from a dear friend who studied the Buddhist religion belief system, and I want to say not the Dalai Lama, but the great healers out of India, was that he told about it, seeing this. He was in their presence, and he said he'd go up to a person in a private session, go, "Can you heal this blindness?" And he'd go, he says, no. He says, this person, if I heal their blindness, then they will come back in another lifetime and have the blindness again.
Yes.
So let them finish their choice of having blindness and be done with it.
Right.
So that's the first governing factor. Is this on their life course?
Okay.
Okay. And not everyone that we think we would consider, oh, look at that situation,
Right.
may be their greatest learning experience. And how we relate to them is that learning. So what we consider, quote, a disease or an illness or a handicap may be a tremendous gift. One of the things I would encourage you to do, and anyone you talk to, is one of the gifts I gave myself years and years ago was show me my judgments. I would ask my higher self, my divine essence, to show me my judgments. Because with that, when I saw a person that had something that was that I judged, I would recognize it in the morning. I go like, show me my judgment. And during the day, there was this person who was maybe larger than I thought was healthy. And it hit me just like, boom, that's a judgment, Russell. And I go, okay, so that's a judgment. And then I'd own that judgment, send that to my library, and then show me what's really going on here. Show me this person in their divine essence, rather than this physical form. And I'd see these gorgeous angels and these beings of light and love that had just confined themselves to this body of handicapped or whatever, to have this earth experience. Wow. And so to develop your intuition, start asking to see the bigger picture.
Okay.
Everyone can do that. Show me my judgments.
Yeah.
And when you see them, go like, own that you made a judgment.
Right.
Own that.
Right. Own it.
But then ask to see what's really happening. When I was full practice, I would do this, and every person that came in my office, I got to work on angels all day long. Because I got to see their divine essence. No matter whether they were a child or a grandma or a grandpa, or they were 27 years old looking for that perfect relationship, I got to work on angels all day long. And we can do that too. As we walk down the streets, we can ask to see the angels, ask to see the divine essence that is in these people.
Right.
Rather than see I'll give you one other example. I had an experience in 2000. I'd asked to see the divine essence known as Jesus Christ. I just put that into creation. If that was something that would occur, Well, anyway, it occurred. Okay, in June of that year. Christ has these amazing blue eyes. I mean, they are intense blue eyes. So, after that experience, a few months later, I was making some tincture, some extracts, of which I needed some vodka. So I'd gone into a parking lot, and there's an individual who looked kind of homeless with his bicycle, and I pulled up by him and gave him some money. And he had these intense blue eyes. And I go, here. Went into the store, went into this other store, did some shopping, whatever, and then I was stopped at the liquor store to get the vodka. Well, as I'm going in, he's coming out. And I got to see the intense blue eyes again. And I'm going, opportunity for judgment or no judgment. Right. And I go, well, hi, well, thank you, because it isn't my place to determine what they do with whatever. Right. But the gift was I got to see the same blue eyes 2 more times.
Wow.
And an opportunity to judge a situation or just,
accept it. Yeah.
Accept it and recognize they're on their path.
Can I share something with you?
Sure.
I'll share it with our listening audience as well. My mother was an alcoholic, a full-fledged alcoholic, and I had judgment against that my whole life because I didn't choose that per my path, so I could never, I'm logic, so I could never understand what is her problem, you know? She's got to get over. Very judgmental. I was sitting in Spain with her at a bar, and, divine conversation, I guess we'll call it, says to me, she's going to die. And I said, yeah. They said, so how do you want to spend your last moments with her? Do you want to keep judging her?
Oh, wow.
And I said,
what a gift.
I know. And I said, no, I want to love her. I just want to love her. And in that moment, I decided I was done judging and I was really just going to love. And I put aside all of that. And, I had the best couple years with her. And it was the gift that just exactly what you're saying. And now I'm able to do that with others, ask the same question.
Sure.
How do you want to, it's going to happen. How do you want to spend it? And it takes and removes all of that so I could see the blue eyes.
Yeah, and thank you, because it really is. It becomes that. Because we don't understand, unless you can really start seeing the big picture, we understand such a limited view, with how we're raised and what we're told is right and wrong and what we're told is black and white and green and yellow. But what a gift that you gave yourself. I know. And isn't it wonderful that you had divine intervention?
Totally. In a bar in Spain.
Bar. That's right.
And it was so cool because it was like I answered that and then made that decision, and guess what I got back in return?
What?
She never judged me again.
Isn't that wonderful? You ended the attraction.
Yeah, it was. I owned it.
Yeah, you did. You owned it.
I owned my own judgment.
Yes, you did. And then things can shift. And with ownership, you either own your life or you rent your life.
Okay.
All right. And you were renting before.
Yeah, I was.
Somebody else, you were being a victim. You're a victim of the landlord. You're a victim of being, kicked out any moment. You're the victim of, you can't put a nail in the wall because you'll be punished for it.
Right.
And you chose to move from renting to owning.
Yeah.
Instead of renting your thinking and your critical thoughts to owning it and go like, I can do this different.
Yeah.
And she's changed.
I know.
Isn't that amazing? Thank you for sharing that,
Oh, no,
Christine.
thank you for bringing that to my awareness again, just through your share of, that you did, because it really was my...
And this, let's follow this for just a moment here with this ownership. Maybe we'll talk about it more in the back half.
Yeah.
Is, so if you're working in a company,
Okay.
and you find somebody that you just don't get along with.
Right.
When you take and own the feelings you're having, they're real to you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't discard them. If you feel angry, own that you feel angry. Or if you feel frustrated, own that. Or you feel like just depressed, own it. One of the gifts of ownership is that, because people come on and says, well, no, you don't really feel depressed. No, I do. I feel depressed. We'll put a scale on. I feel a -100 depression, or whatever it is, or a size to it. Own what you're feeling, own those experiences, because once you own it and recognize it, then you can do something with it. It's like if parents were in our learning curve and we go, oh, you don't really feel that way, the child. What do you mean I don't feel that way?
Invalidation.
Yeah, and I don't feel upset. Yeah, I feel upset, But in the ownership of it, then we can do something with it. Mm-hmm. My youngest daughter, her mother was very, better, Mm-hmm. We were going through a divorce. And on my side of it, I used to ask her, I says, what did you learn from this situation? That's all I'd ask her. What did you learn from this? So she had to own what she was doing because she had to evaluate herself.
Right.
And out of that, then she'd say, well, Dad, this is what I learned. I go, I go like, now sometimes inside I was like, in knots.
Yeah.
Because it was a scary situation. But she learned that. She learned to evaluate her situations from self-education. If I'm doing this, what am I learning from this situation?
Right, and without the blame, shame, and guilt that's oftentimes, right. I believe, we're taught, not intentionally, but it's just something we ended up doing. And it only amplifies the situation.
And there's an interesting story about this. Had a lady coming to me in her mid-40s. Mm-hmm. It's always interesting as a doctor when you present an environment for people to be able to really speak and know they're not going to be judged, and that they can really open their heart. And fortunately, I was able to create that, and I live by that. Mm-hmm. Or I strive to live by that. Let me qualify that. She said, first of all, Dr. Lowe, I need to tell you something. I go, okay. She goes, I've been married and faithful to my husband for, we're childhood sweethearts. We've been married for 25 years, and he's been the only man in my life. And I'm going, okay. She said, and I purposely forget their nams. Right. Intentionally, I do. And she said, I just got back from a medical doctor and I had my blood work done. With a normal exam, found out I have syphilis. She said, I haven't been with anybody else. I said, I don't know where I got it. Well, this intuition of knowing, my next question is, and I said, okay, well, let's look at this. If I have an opportunity, when I say look, I'm looking at your energy fields and your histories.
Right.
Not just this beautiful person, but looking at the histories, all of it. And I said, did you have great-great-great-grandfathers that went blind? Because she knew her genealogy, sort of. And she says, yeah, I did. Well, blindness is one of the symptoms of syphilis. But that came in. Right. Knowing that's the medical side, learning some of the histories. And I go, you know what? I think you inherit it down through your genetics, because certain diseases jump. And syphilis jumps about every 3 to 4 generations. Right. It jumps and resurfaces.
Wow.
And it comes down the DNA chain, and it jumps. And if you don't know that, but fortunately, creation had set me up because I was at a seminar 2 or 3 months previously where they were talking about how diseases jump.
Wow.
Like, for example, Lou Gehrig's, horrendous. It's one of the things in my practice, I didn't know this, and I only had 1 or 2 patients ever on Lou Gehrig's, and I wasn't able to really help them very much. But I didn't know that. But since I learned that Lou Gehrig's is a dormant bacteria that's in the spinal column fluid that jumps generations. That's what I've learned so far.
Right.
And anyway, so I'll go back to the First Lady. So I said, well, let's treat. So I backed her up to those grandfathers, treated them for syphilis energetically, taught their immune systems what it was, and brought it down through the generations to her, treated her for it. And she said, now what do I do? And I says, wait a couple of weeks and then go in and get new blood work. And so she went in, and a couple of weeks later got new blood work, came in the office, she says, Dr. Loveland, it's gone. She said, well, it's a false positive, what they write it up as.
Right.
But the reality is, I mean, isn't that magical when you have that ability, the intuition to go to look to find out where the beginning is? Because you're a combination of many, many lifetimes personally and all the ancestors, the parents, and so forth. So some of these things come down. And, one last thing before we go to break. You want to go to break now?
Yeah, we'll finish up that one, because I'm interested now. I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm sure some listeners are too.
What something else? Now my mind's not to wait for it to recycle. One of the things that happens is in our genetics, that we are carrying with us, we have opportunity to change those.
In this lifetime.
Correct. As you do your ownership.
Right.
You can own it for yourself and all your relations that choose it.
Yes.
It's a great term. So you can help mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, who you think about what they went through to provide you a situation where you could live in this life and this time of communication. Look at the pioneers. Look what happened. So let's go back to something that happened in our histories, something called the Black Plague. Well, I'm kind of, maybe call it weird or odd, but I went and talked to the bacteria of the Black Plague because they're a life force.
Right.
I mean, they're organisms. Just because they're little people doesn't mean that they don't have a thought form.
Yeah.
So I went back to the bacteria in the Black Plague, and I said, when you created the plague and participated in this, I said, what was your gift to humanity? We've always seen it as a plague, and plagues are disease, are a terrible thing. They said, well, interesting you ask, because you're one of the few people that ever asked us.
Right.
Said, well, look what was happening with the population of the earth at that time. They were living in squalor. They were living in the dirt and in the grime and basically in the sewage, both in thought and in physical survival. And there was a lot of personal injury happening to each other. There was very little respect for life.
Right.
The Black Plague came in and went rampant. Yay for the rats for passing it around. So they did their job. And so we had mass evacuation out of this really contracted lifestyle. Mass evacuation. So we had people that would have lived, say, 40 years, they died at 5 years old. And so they had 35 years on the other side.
Okay, got it.
In the heavens.
Right.
That they would have, it was time they spent here on the earth. So we had millions who got wiped out, who spent time in the heavens. Now the heavens isn't just a place where you sit there and play your harp. You're in class there. You're in education. You're deciding what you want to do in your next life and so forth. Well, what ended the Dark Ages, which the plague came, and the bubonic plague actually ended the Dark Ages. This huge contraction.
Right.
Well, what came in? The Renaissance. Some of the greatest music, art, sculpture, thought came in because the Black Plague eliminated the problem here, spent more time in the heavens where they could be educated, and that education paid off, and so we had a whole shift in consciousness by a disease.
And that's just, it's the beauty of the duality of living in our time now. So we're going to go to break now, and so we'll be right back with Dr. Loveland. Welcome back. This is Christine Essex with Luminosity Wellness Radio, here with Dr. Russell Loveland, and we're having a great conversation right now about some of the things that we're going to be talking about on the 4th and the 5th that will be talked, and we're going to go right into the ownership during this segment and the power of the ownership. And
sounds good.
Yeah?
Sounds good.
Oh.
What happens when, this upcoming event on the 4th and 5th, Friday and Saturday, I've really tried to shut off my intuition, but it just doesn't happen.
Good thing.
having taught seminars, I mean, a little bit about the background, what you can expect for a few moments, and we'll talk about this ownership. I've co-taught with another doctor. We had in our audience 70, 80 people. Everyone from medical doctors, other chiropractors, to moms and dads, all in the same room.
Yeah.
How do you keep that crowd interested, and moving? And what happens with intuition is that when we go to teach a principle that we're talking about, creation always provides someone in the audience that has that issue. Intuitively, you can see it.
Okay.
I mean, you can look, and you've seen me do this.
Yes.
You'll see there's 20 people or someone at the center, and I'm teaching. You'll see me. Oh, you've got this. You'll hear me say that. You've heard me say, "You've got this." Come up.
Right.
Because we can see it.
Okay.
You can see it in the field. For example, the last Valentine's, I was kind of apprehensive doing the Valentine's in the sense of, Valentine's also be really happy and loving and all this. Going into this. So I'm going to confess something here.
Okay, good.
Before an event, I look at it.
Okay.
And I sort of see the people that are going to show up.
Right.
And I had this knowing that there were 2 people I would meet that had cancer coming into their fields.
Wow.
And my apprehension was how do I tell them on Valentine's Day that you've got cancer 4 or 5 years out? Now, the gift is you can give them some directional change of how they can change the direction of that, but you can see it coming in. I mean, I could...
Yeah, I've witnessed you do that. So.
You can see it coming in. I know I had cancer twice. I've seen it come in. I've seen it go. And I did ownership to move it out and changing lifestyle, changing my environment and changing what I was eating and changing what I was thinking. Cancer particularly has to do with lack, loss, and not enough. And having gone through a divorce and things and so forth. And in relationships, lack, loss, and not enough. So those are the common, there's other ones, but those are kind of the major ones I find with people. The other thing with it, Christina, since we're talking about cancer for a moment, is that every person that I've ever checked or come in that told me they had cancer, we found they had cancer, all had an issue of a death wish. Of a death wish. Now, often a death wish will come in the womb when they have a twin leave. And anyway, so that was something. Now, you can have a death wish and not have cancer, but every one of them never did. So anyway, let's go on to the ownership. So I was going like, how do I, how am I going to present this on Valentine's Day to
Well, I'm glad you didn't back out.
these people, supposed to be this loving relationship. So interesting was that some of our friends were standing outside the door during the Valentine's Day. And there were actually people scared to come in because he's intuitive.
Oh, really?
There were actually
they heard him say that.
I mean, there were actually people who said, I don't know I want to go in there or not, because they'll know stuff about me. And I've had relatives say to me, says, I don't really want to look in his eyes because he can read right through you. He says, but if I ever get sick, he's the first one I want to go to. So I don't choose to present that. I choose to present a very open, loving environment for people to have the opportunity for me to assist them so they can make some choices. Sometimes you just don't know. So anyway, all those situations, the first way you begin with an issue is you own it. You own it. Like when I had cancer, now people say, well, what kind was it? I didn't want to get that familiar with it. I mean,
you weren't keeping it.
That's right. This isn't becoming my bosom buddy. This is like, what did I do to create it? What is this? And it's interesting because I had a really good friend, a great diagnostician, check me for it. Because there's a way stainless steel, we can do stainless steel on the body and it will show it has it. And he goes, yeah, doc, you got it. I said, that's all I want to know, just confirm the diagnosis, which I was suspecting it. And so anyway, I checked back 3 or 4 months later and he goes, well, it's getting better. It's not as much, it's still a little bit there. And then, I don't know, about 6 or 7 months, it was totally gone. I actually felt the day it left. I actually felt this, like a cloud of darkness come out of my body and leave. And back in those days, it went horizontal. I says, "What are you?" I was talking to it. We'd kind of become friends, but not roommates anymore. No longer roommates. And I goes, "I'm going to look for somebody else who has cancer." And I go, "Okay." And so then, 4 or 5 years, 6 or 7 years later, I created it again in my liver, and I'm going like, "What are you guys doing back?" And it was interesting because it looked like if you took a bread loaf pan and stuck it full of bean sprouts, that's what it looked like.
Interesting.
And it's kind of come out because I'd done my work. I was doing my work, and I'd remedied the problem that I created, lack, loss, or not enough, and owned those things. And I'm asking, I says, how many kinds are you? And they go, 157 kinds. I go, why'd you pick me? I said, we wanted to have your experience.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, we created a place, and there's a place in creation for cancer to go.
Right.
So it has a home because it wants to evolve also.
Correct.
It's not an enemy.
No.
Like you think it's not this enemy. So anyway, so that's kind of an interesting side note. Going with ownership. If you don't like what you got, own where you're at. Own what you're doing, what you're thinking. Really look at yourself. When you get up in the morning, what is the first thoughts that you're thinking about? Oh, I'm tired today, or I feel really good today. I'm excited about going into work. I'm excited about the possibilities. Evaluate yourself. You're the one person who's with you 24/7. And decide if you want to own and continue to own that action or those thoughts. Do you want to own feeling depressed? Okay,
That's a good
so
question.
when you choose to own that, then you can do something with it. If you allow, then you're going to still be at the subject to it. So you can begin by just sitting down with a piece of paper and writing down everything that you're feeling, experiencing, thinking. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
And decide if you're ready to own those. I own that I attract guys to me that are zeros. Okay, so I own that. Okay, so make those lists, make those pieces of paper, take that and make it become tangible to you on the paper.
Okay.
If you need to put a size to it. Because I had people, and you've heard me seeing me do this, it's like I say, well, how big is this problem? Well, it's as big as this room. It's overwhelming. I feel smothered by it. Okay, so let's back you up to where you can do that, do something with it. And then you have to make the next decision. Once you've identified what you're choosing to own, then you make the decision, are you complete with this experience? Are you complete with feeling depression? Are you complete with the only way I get started is 3 cups of coffee in the morning, or whatever it is?
Or I attract zeros.
Yeah, or I attract zeros. Or I own being at conflict, feeling beat up by this person at work.
Being complete with that.
Yeah, I own that feeling. I own these feelings I've created with it. I send that, I'm complete with that experience. Then, because these feelings and emotions are stored on our field.
Right.
This is why I can see if you're attracting something into you, is because we store it on our field. This is a temporary reservoir of our life experiences that we're choosing to repeat. Okay. And then the fun part comes is if you're complete, you've owned it and you're complete, then you can extract that energy off your field and send it to your library. We'll talk a little bit about libraries. Library storage unit, if you want to call another term for it. It's your personal library. It's your storage of where you place your personal activities, your personal thoughts. You've had it from the beginning of your inception and creation. You've had a library and a librarian who has come with you.
An eternal library.
An eternal library.
Okay.
You could call this your higher self, your divine essence would be an aspect of, like your librarian would be in that category, the spirit. Taking and eliminating all religious concepts of it.
Correct.
It's simply with you. You have been traveling with a companion who knows your histories, knows what you chose to experience in this life, knows what's coming from left field. Sometimes knows if you're on your life path or not.
Right.
What that is. And so by taking it and removing off this focus, send it to your library, you are able to move it from being attracted to you to no longer have the attraction.
And then it's stored where if I wanted to explore it at another lifetime or another time, I could always read about it or
it's
just,
like it's like as the male aspect when the female asks us, do I look pretty in this dress?
Right.
How do we answer that question safely?
Of course you do, darling.
Of course you do. You've chose it, so it has to be beautiful.
Right.
You're beautiful, so the dress is beautiful. That's a good answer.
Yes.
I remember that. I'll listen to this question. Of course you do, honey. Why would you not put on something that's beautiful? Of course you put on something that's beautiful.
Right. It fits so well.
I support you in your choices.
Yes, that's right. How do you feel, darling?
So when you put that into your library, it's filed. You have a record of it.
Right.
And you can add to that record. You have a book on depression, we'll say, or a book on stress. Maybe you have 10 books on stress, experiences of stresses. You can always add to it. And if you want to go read it and research it, you can always pull it up. And it's kind of neat because as a male, I've learned with the females in my life, I'm going, okay, that comment comes up. Then I go, okay, I'll go back to my library. If I say this, what's the result? If I say this, what's the result? So the law of attraction really functions with us. Mm-hmm. And so if you can move the attraction of those things that are negative or contractive to your library, then we stop attracting them to us.
Oh, yes.
To this focus. And yet you have the experience, you've owned the experience, you've taken ownership of it, it's in your library, but you no longer have to continue to attract that. And as you do that, your environment changes because no longer you're playing country western music or no longer playing jazz.
Got it.
And so everyone else that's showing up, they have to. I've had people do this, and other people in their work just quit and left.
Right.
Because they know, whatever the dance they were doing, the dance was complete.
It is the most powerful technique. Since you came to the center and taught it, and I have been privileged enough to use it, and also continue to teach it to others,
share it with others,
my clients and stuff. It's clean, it's easy, and it's so valuable because, like you said, that now we're vibrating differently, right?
Yes.
It's a cool tool.
And there's no shame, blame, or anything. Mm-hmm. So what that you came and you chose green parents, and,
right.
and green's not popular anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you own it.
That's it. I own it. I contract it. Yeah, right.
And
I sign it.
Yeah, you sign it and seal it. Yeah, sign the records. So
we have 5 more minutes, so we want to make sure that people. This is a tool that you're going to be teaching.
Yes, on this coming weekend. We're not the 4th and 5th.
Yes,
1 weekend away. We're going to be doing this, and the intuition is going to come out. Any of you, I'll tell you, if you come to that's heard us on the radio or on the net today, you come and you show up. I'll make sure I'll personally work with you. I'll pick you out. You say, look, I'm here. I heard you on the radio.
Wow.
I'll make sure that I'll use you as one of the demos.
Yeah.
And your life will change.
It does.
It just does. It's like, that's a gift for you listening and coming to Luminosity. We'll do that to make sure we'll have others there also. But, just say, look, I was on the radio, and I'll make sure that, because we have certain time to do that. Sometimes you don't have time to work on everyone, but we'll put you on the first of the list.
Great. Because I know we'll probably split it up, do some demos on Friday and some on Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday we will go a little more in depth. Friday's more of an introduction type of a thing, and there are demos done constantly, and that is the power of working with you and learning from you, because it's all done through that experience.
Yeah, it's done through the experience of demo, and I kind of watch the audience, the group, and they're writing notes, and I was talking to some of that go there, because when I'm on my side, I'm kind of like where I'm at,
right?
But then they say, well, no, it's really great. They love the demos, and your life changes, because the demo might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. Yeah. But you're going to have a life change opportunity to recognize things. And we use applied kinesiology so that we can reset your nervous system. And it's a great opportunity to have people change their lives who want to do that.
And
to really
so
want to do that.
Please join us on the 4th and the 5th. And it's not like one or the other. Please come to both. And Dr. Loveland is only not even requesting, All we're asking for are love donations
That's right.
to cover your time and to cover the learning. So please consider that,
Yeah,
putting it in
cost
your...
isn't the issue. I'd rather have you be there and put in a dime.
I love it.
You know, that dime to you could be $100,000 to somebody
and I've seen
else.
some people who were just able just to do that. So please join us. And then also we have John of God Crystal Healing Bed that's here on the 26th and 27th. And go to the website at luminositywellnesscenter.com and you can find more information about that. We have Sheila Z, Deeper into the Wellness, and she's a wonderful author, speaker, and she will be here on the 26th, which is Friday, tomorrow, right? Tomorrow from 6 to 8:30. Those are a couple of events that we have going on, and there's so many more. And Dr. Loveland will be there on the 4th and 5th. So call, join us, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
We welcome you. And go to the website and see all the nice changes. Luminosity is going through some transition and some changes. And you know what? You won't know it till you get there.
It's a beautiful place to visit. Come and just come in and say hi.
Feel the energy.
That's right.
Share with us and learn with us.
That's
because
right.
that's what we're really about. So we really do thank you. And anytime, listen to us every week from 3 to 4. Going out now. Bye.